Hello, my name is Mr. Fontenot. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Mr. Fontenot 1111. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you find this video helpful, please leave a comment. In this video, I'm going to be going over the Chapter 21 Math Handout, which is the Transformer Math Calculations. In the future, if we get a new edition of the textbook and the chapter number changes, this video would still be relevant for all of our math calculations involving transformers. What will you need for completing this math handout? First, you're going to need a copy of the Chapter 21 Math Handout, which is a 2-page handout. This is the first page. You can print that from your Canvas page, and I will leave a link below the video here on YouTube for you to print these documents as well. Also, you're going to need a notebook where you can set up your circuit and your electrical quantity spreadsheet. You're going to need the Chapter 21 formula handout, which we'll go over here in just a minute. And of course, you're going to need your calculator, and in this video I'm using the Casio FX115ES Plus. This is the first generation that will be displayed on the screen, but the second generation is virtually exactly the same. Alright, now here's just a preview of our math handout. It's the first of the 4 things we're going to review. And this is just a preview of the math handout. I'm going to demo all this stuff as we go along, so please don't try to remember everything I say. We're going to start with number 1 here in just a minute, but I want to review the handout real quick. So problems 1 through 4 are step-down transformers. Problems number 5 through 8 are step-up transformers. And here's the electrical quantities spreadsheet that I'm going to show you how to write out in just a minute, that we're going to be using for numbers 1 through 8. Problems 9 through 14, the difference here is these have 2 secondaries and 1 primary, whereas numbers 1 through 8 had 1 primary and 1 secondary. So you can see the difference here. It does extend the electrical quantity spreadsheet somewhat, but as I said, as we go along here, I'm going to demonstrate for you and give you plenty of time to write that out. Here's our second page of our math handout. Numbers 15 through 18, you're going to use the same electrical quantity spreadsheet as you did for problems 1 through 8. And the difference here with number 15 through 18 versus number 1 through 8 is here we are not given our turns ratio and we have to find it, which is not very difficult. And lastly, number 19 and number 20 both use this type of electrical quantities spreadsheet, and they're a lot easier to do than they look, and I'm going to demonstrate those for you as well. So as I said, please don't try to remember everything I just said. I'm going to show you and give you plenty of time to write everything down, starting with our notebook setup. So right now, why don't you go ahead and pause the video, take a few minutes, and I want you to write out the spreadsheet that you see here. Go ahead and draw the circuit here on the first one at the top of your paper so we can fill in the values. That's very helpful. Make a place where you can write down all the steps that you take to solve this circuit. And then here's the electrical quantities we're going to be looking for. This is what you need to write out. So we're going to have our primary voltage, our secondary voltage, our primary current, our secondary current, our primary resistance or impedance, actually, the resistance of the load resistance, the resistance of the secondary. We're going to look for our primary power, our secondary power, And in some cases we'll be given the number of windings of the primary and the number of windings of the secondary, and in some cases we'll be looking for the number of windings. Alright, next is our formula handout, and I've got these numbered here. I'll be walking you through how to use these. Formula number 1, number 2, number 3, there's a 4a and b, a 5a and b, a 6a and b, a 7, and an 8. And you will be able to use the formula sheet on the test. You can use this sheet on the test. You don't have to memorize all these formulas. And finally is your calculator. I hope you have a calculator. If you don't, right now is the time to speak up if we're in class and get you one. If you're at home, pause the video, go find you one. And we need to make sure that our calculator is set up properly. So just by way of reminder, if you have a problem with your calculator and it's not giving you the right values, I would start by totally resetting. And these are multifunction buttons, so if you look above the number 9 it says clear. So in order to do a factory reset, you go Shift 9, and we're going to clear everything. So we're going to hit 3. We're going to hit equal for yes. Then we're going to hit AC. Now we're back to factory settings. It does not say scientific. We never want it to say scientific. And what we can do here is go Shift Mode Setup, and we're going to do number 1 and number 2. Again, that was Shift Mode Setup, number 1 and number 2. Then we're going to go Shift Mode Setup. We're going to go normal 8 2. Again, that was mode Shift Mode Setup 8 2. And then finally, how many decimal places do we want for rounding purposes? It gets a little confusing in how it looks, but I like to just go ahead, hit Shift Mode Setup, and this right here, number 6, which says fixed, that's how many decimal places. And I'm just going to go ahead and go with 9. It'll look a little funny, but we'll do the rounding, and I'll show you how to do the rounding. So for your decimal places, that was Shift Mode Setup, number 6 for fixed decimal places, and I'm going to go with 9. Alright, so here's problem number 1, and now that you've got your spreadsheet written out, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fill in our knowns from the number 1 on our math handout, and you see those values here. And go ahead and write down all the steps that I have for you right here that I took to solve for all of these values, and you can refer over to those steps as we go through this problem. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this video. This will be the first video in the playlist of setting up to do Chapter 21 Math Handout. Then I'm going to make a separate video for each problem that we do. So the next video will be Chapter 21 Math Handout number 1. This video will be Chapter 21 Math Handout Setup.